To your point, every single part of athletics is measured. On-field analytics, heart rate, sleep, what they eat, their recovery, every single aspect of it, except for their apparel. And I have athletes who are in the top leagues, female athletes who are in the top leagues in the US and internationally, who are constantly texting me saying, who designed this? Because it doesn't fit me or any of my teammates.
Yeah. Did you know the average woman spends 7 years of her life dealing with period pain? WaveBy believes it's time to get those years back. Founded by an OBGYN, WaveBy is the first science-backed solution that regulates menstrual cycle and reduces period pain before it even starts. WaveBy has 3 products. By Irregularity from WaveBy is designed to help your cycle find its rhythm again. Packed with clinically studied nutrients like inositol, magnesium, and chasteberry, By Irregularity supports healthy ovulation, hormone balance, and smoother, more predictable cycles without prescription or hormones. By Cramps and By Bad Cramps are the proactive premenstrual products that target the prostaglandin messengers that cause cramps and heavy bleeding, so your life doesn't have to stop every month. Think of it as the new Midol, backed by science, built by women, and designed to keep you feeling like yourself. Join the thousands who have already said it's absolutely life-changing, including myself. I've been taking this product every day for nearly 6 months. I take By Irregularity and By Cramps, and it has absolutely reduced my cramping and regulated my cycle. It is super predictable. So head to waveby.co and use the code Lindsey Cortes for 10% off. Say bye to irregular or painful cycles and hi to your true rhythm. Because when your cycle's in sync, everything else just flows. Lindsey Cortes for 10% off your WaveBy purchase. Hey fans and listeners, it's Lindsey Elizabeth Cortes, registered dietitian, sports dietitian, and your host of the podcast. Our guest today is a returning guest. I'm so excited to have her on, Marina Paul. I'll read off her bio for you before we get into it. Marina is the founder and CEO of Superhera, a data-driven sports apparel company dedicated to closing the gear gap for female athletes. A former D1 soccer captain at Georgetown University, Marina transitioned from elite athletics to a career in consulting before launching Superhera to solve a systemic multi-billion-dollar sizing error in the sportswear market. Her mission is deeply personal. After a successful career on the field was marred by a battle with body dysmorphia. Driven by ill-fitting, male-centric uniforms, Marina set out to revolutionize the industry. Today, she combines her background in business strategy with proprietary predictive fit technology and groundbreaking research to move the industry beyond the shrink it and pink it approach to a data-first model that prioritizes biomechanics and elite athlete health. She is a leading voice on the intersection of sports technology, body image, and the economic growth of women's sports. Marina, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have this be a full circle podcast from where we originally started.
Yeah. And just for listeners to know, it was episode number 198, which was in 2024, which I guess was just 2 years ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago.
It does.
And I think also probably when you're looking at your business growth feels like a lifetime ago as well. So as a recap, if you enjoy this conversation today, go back and listen to episode 198, where we did talk, we'll get into it a little bit, but we don't want this to be a complete repeat episode. But in our last episode, we definitely talked more about like your personal journey of being an athlete and struggling with body dysmorphia, which we mentioned in your bio. And we talked about kind of your career trajectory and, you know, you wrote a book, you were inspired by other women. Like we talked about that stuff. And then the foundation of Superhera of like, I want to create sports apparel and sportswear for female athlete that helps them perform instead of making them feel self-conscious about their bodies, because that was really, you know, a lot of your journey. And it intersects with my work as a dietitian because, you know, here we are trying to say use food as fuel and care about your performance. But if you're just thinking about how your shorts are too tight or you're feeling insecure about like the way your uniform is like scratching on your armpits and like your sports bra is too tight, then you can't focus on performance.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes that leads back to like what we're eating post game because we're feeling insecure about that. We're not confident in our body. And suddenly we're making nutrition decisions that aren't performance driven either. They're like body aesthetic driven, like maybe I need to
Absolutely.
lose weight or be more toned, right? Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I know that's the heart and the soul of like why this is so important to you and because that's so much of your story. So I really want to encourage our listeners to go back and listen to 198 because even though we'll talk more about that, we really dove into your personal journey in the last one.
We did.
Um, yeah. So, and thank you for sharing all of that when you did.
Of course. I'm excited now because my personal journey was the impetus to obviously the company, but the research that we're going to share today that is just supporting for everything that we're doing to show female athletes truly that they're not alone in the way they might feel about their bodies, that this is so much bigger in terms of how female athletes specifically view themselves in their sportswear and what we can do to actually help them when,
Well, that
yeah.
raises, yeah, sorry to cut you off. That raises a great point that sometimes we have these personal individual experiences and we feel
Mm-hmm.
so alone in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm sure when you were a college athlete, you felt alone in your struggles or in your body dysmorphia. And so that, like you said, was your motivation to
Yes,
begin this journey. And now you've realized, wait, I wasn't alone. There's so many female athletes that struggle with this same thing, which is what you're here to solve.
absolutely. And I saw it so much in the locker rooms, but I think to honestly what you've studied and what dietitians do and what scientists do is they ground themselves in the research and they say, okay, what is actually happening here? How do we create a study that actually shows us the larger issue? And we don't approach I always approach what we're doing from an athlete first mindset. So we treat every athlete as you know, as a one of one, but the research just helps guide us towards, okay, these are the most glaring problems that we're seeing amongst different athletes.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not in the world of fashion or clothing
Hmm.
at all, but if I were to make an assumption, it'd be that fashion's subjective, therefore not data driven.
Hmm.
That fashion is just, oh, this looks good, or we like this color, or we prefer this style from a visual aesthetic standpoint, and it's very subjective.
Hmm.
And if that's what leads the fashion industry and sports apparel is part of a fashion industry, then that's not driven on data, meaning, well, what does the athlete feel the best and what do they perform the best in? And when I say feel too, even though feeling is subjective, like that can be data driven of like what is comfortable, what makes me not sweat as much or what makes
Right.
me move comfortably. So that's where you're like, okay, scientists, dietitians, psychologists, they're data driven. Why isn't our sports apparel more data driven? And certain aspects I do want to like acknowledge, like the shoe industry, I think in like athletic shoes, that's pretty data driven. That has been
Right.
for a while, but maybe not so much in the fashion. And I think here's the other issue, which I know you agree with, is we want this to perform well and I want to feel good in it. I want it to be comfortable, but like I want to be cute too.
Totally.
Can't I have both?
Totally. I want to feel like a feminine, strong athlete, whatever the words are that you
That you
label that
resonate
you
with.
want to
Yeah.
resonate with. And we can go into what athletes actually describe themselves as in our research. But to your point, every single part of athletics is measured on field and analytics, heart rate, sleep,
Mhm.
what they eat, their recovery, every single aspect of it, except for their apparel. And I have
Yeah.
athletes who are in the top leagues, female athletes who are in the top leagues in the US and internationally, who are constantly texting me saying, who designed this? Because it doesn't fit me or any of my
Yeah.
teammates. And I find it so fascinating that that's the one side of things, like you said, that wasn't data driven, that wasn't They didn't take into account all the different types of body shapes, and especially the body shapes designed for a specific sport, like soccer versus tennis versus volleyball versus
Oh,
rugby,
right.
to
Yeah.
create the sport specific apparel. Even
Yeah.
on the men's side, there's a lot of glaring issues as well.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah. Like we're definitely focusing on the female side here, but I absolutely this can apply to men as well.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think too, this is like, where the fashion industry, and there's lots of issues there with their Victoria's Secret models or
Hmm.
whatever fits the mannequin. Like,
Hmm.
well, no, people come in all different shapes and sizes. And then we have athletic brands that are like, oh, well, here's athletic clothing. Well, guess what? Athletes come in all different shapes and sizes too.
Absolutely.
We're not like we can't just assume a certain level of muscularity or body fat or shoulder breadth or, like we can't just assume that. And even within each sport, we know
Hmm.
there's individual differences, but you're right. Like what the fit that's needed for a basketball team is
Hmm.
going to be different than a tennis team
Hmm.
because of the way they move and some like the types of athletes that might be in those sports as well.
Absolutely. And I think the trends of the sport, the swagger of the sport, that also changes over time. So one thing that we're keen on
Mm.
grabbing as well is their fit preference. How do you want to wear this game jersey? How do you want to wear your game shorts, your loungewear, the swag that you wear to anywhere on campus? All of those things that incorporate not just the data that we see from the athlete body shapes, but also how they like to wear it, and then mapping them to how the apparel actually fits. There's one thing though I want to talk about when it comes to sizing, because I think a lot of athletes, for me specifically, I used to take sizing so personally when I would see a small, medium, large, extra large, etc. And I would order something and it didn't fit. And maybe it was an extra large and I thought I was a medium. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now I need to go and lose weight. There's this whole psychology about sizing that I wanted to talk to you about because it touches so much on how we view our bodies. But the biggest thing is that sizing is the most inconsistent thing about the apparel industry,
Oh, I
even
know.
within brands.
Yeah,
And what size you are when you, let's just say we'll take jeans for example for athletes so we can take it out of the athlete or the sports apparel context. When you go
sure.
and try a pair of jeans on and you try it on in 5 different sizes from one similar brand, same style, and they're all different fits, and you might be 5 sizes bigger than the other pair of jeans that you have,
Yeah,
it's so important for athletes to know it's not their fault and that
yeah.
the industry has no rhyme or reason for why they size things the way they do. And once I discovered that unlock by partnering with some of the best fit models who've been in New York, sizing the biggest companies, the ateliers, everything that requires very precise sizing, they were like, no, this is the biggest issue that's inconsistent. Do never take it personally of
Yeah.
what size you end up buying that makes you feel the best. Cause the whole point is to make you feel awesome in what you're wearing. And so once I realized that, immediately, whether I was playing a sport, whether I was out in the world doing my thing, that made me so much more confident in what I was
Mhm.
wearing. Cause I was like, oh, I'm not wearing a size whatever. I am wearing the best fit
Fit.
for me. And that's what drove this next phase of superhero, which was becoming this sizing and fit intelligence for athletes.
Yeah. I was kind of like smiling and laughing when you were
Mhm.
saying, because I'm like, yeah, we've all been there where we're like, how come this pair of pants is 3 sizes bigger than my other pair? It makes no sense. And I'm laughing because I'm at the same place that you are, where I'm like, it's a joke. It's funny. Like, I
Mhm.
don't take it personally because it's just a ridiculous
Mhm.
situation. But I understand. And there was a point in my life too where I did take it personally, or I held my identity. I held
Absolutely.
my identity to being a certain size and like was fearful of like not letting myself size up. And it's just, I think recognizing that this is not a me thing and this is a flaw in the industry thing is so helpful. I've definitely told clients that in their work with me, as they're fueling better, nourishing better, if their body changes shape and they have to go shopping, I know that's not always a pleasant experience, but same thing. I try and remind them that like the size, it really has no meaning. And I don't know if this is helpful because it's still something you need to personally work through, but just remember, nobody else knows the size. Like, it's on a tag in the back of your pants, in the back of your shirt. Nobody's seeing it. You're not wearing it like a scarlet letter,
Right.
on your forehead or something like that. It's just like, it's just pretend it's like literally pretend it's a letter though. Like, instead of small, medium, large, like it's just like XYZ. Like,
Mhm.
take away that meaning behind it, because the meaning doesn't make sense
It
anyways.
doesn't. It
So,
doesn't. And once I feel like athletes are so calculated about all their numbers and
oh
everything they
yeah.
eat, and it's like,
Yeah.
that is not a performance metric. That is not telling you that you are going to win or lose. It is literally a tag that a company had to use to know what they were manufacturing. And that's how I think
Yeah.
about it. To
Yeah.
organize their manufacturing, but has nothing to do with
It's just to make piles.
you.
They're making
Exactly.
piles of the shirts and making piles of the pants. They just had to know what pile to put it in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's yeah. So thank you for sharing that too. So yes, so Superhera is this, like you said, like data driven.
Mhm.
Let's take the subjective preference out of it and use data to drive us. And we're going to use like better technology for sizing and fit.
Mhm.
So when I last had you on the podcast, I and I told you before we started recording, I didn't re-listen to it because I like remembered our conversation, but I'm like 99% sure that we included in the show notes a link to a survey that you were beginning. So this was
Mhm.
2 years ago or a little more than that. Like, hey, we're sending out this survey to female athletes, which could be actively competing, like high school, college,
Mhm.
elite, but also could be a female athlete that's like, hey, I'm a coach of this team and I also train myself,
Yes.
like anybody really who considers themselves an athlete at any level.
Mhm.
And we sent out that survey, and I also was able to connect it to like my network of sports dietitians so that we could reach a bigger audience.
Mhm.
And your survey really got results, and you have those results to
Yeah.
share with us today, and which is shaping the way you move forward in your
Mhm.
company now that you
Mhm.
have these results. So let's just hear from you, like, kind of real quickly, like, how did you conduct this research kind of more specifically? Like, I shared my version of like sending out a survey, but like, yeah, what was the purpose of the research and how did you conduct it?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to acknowledge the 2 researchers that were so transformative to this whole process because I couldn't have done it without them. So Katie Heshmentek from Brooklyn College and then Kara Akabach from University of Notre Dame. They helped me phrase the questions that we asked, and then they did all of the analysis on the research. They specialize in women's performance as well. So it was really great to
Mhm,
have their background when looking at not just what people filled the bubble in for, but also the word analysis.
mhm,
The reason why we did the study was what I was saying before, which is I wanted to see how big of an issue this was and what female athletes were actually saying. When we gave them a survey to answer by themselves on their phones, what would they actually say about how they felt about themselves, how they felt in their own skin in sportswear specifically, and how they viewed themselves in a sporting context and in a non-sporting context, and how did
mhm.
food play a role in that. So we did add a food component because
Oh.
that was my personal experience of restricting food to fit better in my sportswear. So I wanted to
Mhm,
see, I had seen a number of athletes when I was at Georgetown struggle with eating disorders. And I wanted to see what the issues were like coming from athletes in terms of how they describe themselves and their bodies. Not to say, look, there's so many eating disorders in sports, but to say, like, hey, there's a really real issue here that we need to go after. So when we're creating our technology, we're sensitive towards how athletes think about sizing and
mhm.
the number on the back of their or the size label on the back of their jersey, how they feel in sportswear, what they want to feel like, how they describe themselves. So we can make sure we use that language, but also build a technology company that's ethical and value based.
And I just want to pause for a moment because it's when we don't want to just be like, oh, there's so many eating disorders in athletes. It's, well, we're trying to fix
Right.
this. And okay, there's different angles that we can fix this at.
Right.
So, and I actually, for National Eating Disorder Awareness Week, and I apologize, I'm recording this, and I don't know when I'm putting this episode out in comparison to that, but I spoke to a woman who works at an eating disorder program. So that episode came out, National Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And it's just that reminder of like, we need to change not just like treatment of eating
Mhm.
disorders, but the system, the environment, and how do we do that?
Mhm.
And so from like a nutrition standpoint, it's like, well, I can treat one person with an eating disorder, but I can also like educate an entire team, and we can
Mhm.
also like talk positively about nutrition in the home with parents and their words and coaches. And so how do coaches speak to their athletes? What type of like food production do we have in the dining halls? Like, how do we change the environment? Okay, so that's just like the
Yes.
nutrition side of things. And then there's like the psychology side of things, of like changing our mindset, changing our perspective, more again, positive
Mhm.
psychology or something like
Mhm.
that. Okay, and now you're like, here you are, like, wait, there's another angle of changing the environment, changing the system, which is our
Absolutely.
sportswear. Like, maybe what we are wearing is impacting this as well. It's the trickle down effect, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So I think that's huge, because I think the reason I really, really want to highlight what you're doing is there's been so much in my work as a dietitian working with athletes and female athletes that resonate anywhere on the spectrum with disordered eating, eating disorders, like
Yeah.
just not being happy with their nutrition in their body, even if there's not a formal name to it, where I'm like, okay, we've learned nutrition, we've changed our mindset, we're fueling better. And it still sucks that we don't like going shopping,
Yeah.
and like, I can't fix that. I'm their dietitian. I can't fix that for
Mm-mm.
them. Or okay, you're personally doing great with fueling, and it still sucks that your teammates around you aren't, or that your coach talks a certain way. And by the way, I love coaches. I don't mean to be speaking
No,
for
but
it, but like, oh, it still sucks that your parents have a bad relationship with food. Like, I can't fix that for
that's
you.
huge. Yeah.
So again, you're coming at this angle saying, well, can I change the situation
Mhm.
around the clothing and the fit and the sportswear? And
Mhm.
maybe that'll have an impact down the line, the trickle down effect on somebody's relationship with food.
Absolutely. I think that how I describe it is like we're helping them from the outside in. So we're helping them
Yes.
like the thing that they have, like the sensation on their skin, we're helping it, we're helping them so they when they internalize what they feel on the outside, it's a more positive experience
Hmm.
because healing from the inside out is unbelievably important. And then I also think to what you said, the whole ecosystem around us that reinforces extreme skinniness or disordered eating habits or just projections from all different directions, it's really hard to navigate
It's
and deal
hard.
with, especially
Mhm.
when you're in a team environment where a majority of athletes or your environment might not be positive. So
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
feels like just an uphill battle all
Yes.
the time and you're fighting. So if we could help solve that from a clothing perspective, which I think clothing has the ability to make you feel so unbelievably confident, and the other side of the spectrum, make you feel
And the
not
opposite.
confident at all.
Yes.
But also tell the listeners, I also don't love shopping either because now I know way too much about fit and how things should fit. So it's so impossible for me to find clothing.
'Cause you're so frustrated that you're
Yes.
like, this doesn't fit. Because,
Yes.
yeah.
I'm like, why is this
Mhm.
rising up here? It should be on here. No, so,
Yeah.
but so the study, I'll get straight into it. We
Yes.
worked with Kara and Katie to create this study that would draw out this larger issue of sportswear and how athletes
Mhm.
felt. And so we asked those questions. We asked how they felt about their body. We asked how they would describe themselves. We asked, have you ever restricted food to try to fit better in your sportswear? And there's some stark correlations or things that don't match up that you're like, this is so fascinating. So
Mhm.
the first one being about 65% of athletes pro in college. So we had about 858 respondents.
Okay.
65% of them said their sportswear is fine the way it is. So I read
Okay.
that as their first response. I'm like, huh, okay. So maybe it's not as big of an issue as we think. The next question was, how do you feel? Have you ever restricted food to fit better in your sportswear?
Mm.
55% of those respondents said that they had considered restricting food to fit better in their sportswear. And then 39% of them actually had.
Yeah, and those numbers are too big.
Way too big. That's almost like over, I'm not going to do public math, but like almost 90% of athletes have maybe altered how they ate or thought about it in order to fit in their sportswear, yet 63 to 65% of them say that it fits fine.
Right. So that doesn't make, you can't say my clothing fits fine, but then it's like, no, I'm changing my body in order to fit my clothing.
Right. And then about 62% of those athletes that said my clothing fits fine also said I either deal with the fit and just make do with it, or I alter the fit in terms of cutting out the liner, restretching it out, manufacturing your clothing in some way so that it actually fits you. So we see this.
Yeah. Oh, my clothing fits fine because I cut it.
Because I completely altered the fit.
Because I rolled over the shorts 4 times, like, or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So we see this, which this is an assumption that this is not a question we ask, but we see this pattern of athletes taking it into their own hands to alter the fit of their clothing or their bodies in order to fit in their sportswear. So then we did ask them, what needs to change, your sportswear, your body? 39% said my body needs to change. 58% said the sportswear, the fit of the sportswear needs to change.
Yeah.
So there are these incongruencies throughout that lend itself to say, hey, these athletes don't feel like they fit into their sportswear. And if they do, it's because they altered it themselves or they altered themselves.
Yeah, or felt the pressure to alter their body, their diet, their nutrition. Yeah.
Exactly. And they said about 71% said that the fit of sportswear is the number one most important thing. The very least important thing was look. It was how I fit was most important, then how I feel, then how it functions, and then how I look was like overwhelmingly the least important item. But for women, if you ask anyone on the street, they'd say how I look.
Yeah. I'm shocked to hear that. So, like, are they just giving the answer that they think you want to hear?
I don't know.
Like, because athletes can do that sometimes of like, we know we're supposed to care more about our performance and how we look. So like, I'm just going to pretend I don't care about how I look, even though like deep down, I really do.
That could definitely be the answer. But because so many of them, over 50% of them put it as their number 4 compared to all the other things. But I think it's like the look good, feel good mentality. I actually think it's more if I feel good, meaning it fits, then I look good.
Yeah. Oh, well, I agree with that. Again, doing the work from the inside out is like, yes, if I personally feel comfortable and can move freely in how I want to, then I have confidence.
Yes.
And if I have confidence in myself, this is in my physical and like inner self. I have confidence because I'm showing up in the world being the person I know I can be.
Yes.
Now because I feel good, now I look good. So totally. I agree with that mentality completely.
And that's what I think
that's the truth.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, as athletes, like we are, like you said, we're so perceptive of everything. I notice when I change one thing about my routine that throws me off before a game, potentially, if I get one less hour of sleep or I'm on my cycle at certain times, I notice a difference in my body. And so I think we're so perceptive to feel and how things fit on us, like from a sensory standpoint, or how eating a certain type of food might make us feel.
Yeah.
That actually is most important in order to look their best.
Fans, I'm pausing the conversation again to check in on you. Are you concerned that you have RED-S? That's relative energy deficiency in sport. It's a syndrome of not ideal health consequences and performance consequences that all stem from the idea that you're not fueling optimally or fueling enough for your sport needs. I've become an expert in this over the years because unfortunately, a lot of female athletes struggle with this. We have research that shows sometimes up to 90% of female athletes might be suffering from at least one of the side effects of RED-S. Other research says that up to 45% of female athletes are struggling with disordered eating. These are big statistical numbers, and I don't like it. I'm here to help you become fierce, fit, and fueled. So first and foremost, head to lindseycortes.com/reds to learn more about Reds, listen to past podcast episodes, and take our free Reds quiz to see if this might be a concern for you. From there, I've got 3 ways to help you. 1, download the Reds Recovery Guide and start taking action right away. 2, join our Reds Recovery membership. For a very affordable $15 a month, you will have access to me as a sports dietitian to educate and empower you to fuel better. We meet once a week for live calls, Q&A. You have access to the recordings if you can't join live, and a community group chat to support, encourage, and motivate you along the way to fuel fiercely. Last, spots are limited for one-on-one help, but I can help you personally through one-on-one coaching, be it my Fast Track program, the Female Athlete System of Transformation, or perhaps Fuel School, depending on your age. All of that is on my website, lindseycortes.com. But because one-on-one spots are limited, I really want to encourage you to join the Reds Recovery membership. We live in a world where it's very easy to just pop online, read an article, listen to a podcast, and I think we do a decent job at getting information out there, but we all need someone to talk to and really ask those personal questions, and also be open and honest in a community that's going to support you in your fueling needs and goals. And that's exactly what this membership is. So only $15 a month. We meet once a week, and you will be provided with so much education and empowerment and support. I know you won't regret joining. Head to lindseycortes.com/reds, and there you will see the Reds Recovery membership that you can join, and join us this week. It's time for you to be fierce, fit, and fueled. Yeah, I definitely I don't have the data, but from personal experience, being an athlete most of my life, and I'm also going to say I was a gymnast. I felt like gymnastics, like I had I had so much body awareness. And yes, like sense, like just awareness of how my body felt, in how I was moving and how something fit. And I don't know, just body awareness is, I think, heightened in athletes.
Absolutely.
We're tightening our muscles, we're relaxing, how we breathe. Like these are things other people don't even think about throughout their day.
No. And I think that there's so much commentary on athlete bodies as well, whether it's from your coach, your parents, your teammates, whether you hear other people talking about it, the body conversation is unlike any other industry or thing you do. You don't talk about that when you're like sick, you're a singer, or you're a lawyer, a doctor, whatever. In the regular world, you're not talking about body as much as you are in sports, because that's your utility.
Yeah. And I mean, I do want to acknowledge, I think that bodies are talked about just too often in general society. Like I remember even like, I'm not even a huge Swiftie, but like, she gets comments on her body like all the time. And it's like, come on, she's singing, give her a break. Like her belly's going to expand and she's breathing. And she's also, we're watching her age, like her body's going to change as she goes from it. She was 15 when she became famous or something, right? It's like, she's a woman now, her body's changed, like let it change. So there is commentary, but the difference in athletics is it's tied to like how they're, like you said, it's their tool. It's how like it's tied to performance more. And there's so much commentary of like, oh, are they winning or losing or setting PRs based on they've gained muscle, lost muscle, they look more fit, look more toned, more athletic, or look less athletic, whatever. And I think maybe this is a good segue. That was some of your research as well, was like asking a question of like asking these athletes, these respondents, like, do you think you look like an athlete?
Yes.
Do you want to rephrase that for me?
Absolutely. So we directly asked them, do you think you look like an athlete? Because when I had gone out before this study and I had asked so many high school, college, pro athletes about their body perception, they were like, I mean, my teammate looks like an athlete. Like, this is what an athlete looks like. And that's exactly what our research showed. When we asked them, do you think you look like an athlete? Actually, 80% of them said yes. So I was shocked. That's a high statistic for what I was assuming for that answer. But when we asked them to describe what an athlete looked like, the language was about how their teammates looked. They were saying a female athlete looks like this, but it's in third person. It's not I feel, because we followed it up, with what do you think you look like? And you're like, well, I could be more strong or stronger. I could have more lean muscle mass and more muscle tone and these things. All the things that you said are what we perceive an athlete to look like, which is probably like a track runner. Every single response except for one was actually geared more towards sort of that third person of an athlete should look like this. But when it comes to what I look like, I don't think I look like that. But yet I know that I look like a female athlete.
Yeah. So I have the confidence because I am a female athlete. I have the confidence. I look like an athlete. But if I were to describe an athlete, I have an ideal image of an athlete in my mind.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm not there yet. Very self-critiquing, like I need to improve or that's not me. So yeah, and kind of circling back to something I mentioned before with like clothing companies, like, okay, like a clothing company has their mannequin and then, oh, here's a sports clothing company, but they also have their athletic mannequin. It's like, wait, no, there's a big difference between a heptathlete and a rugby player.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You know, so like what
difference.
does this ideal athlete doesn't have one look either.
No.
But I think if you were to ask an athlete themselves or the general population, what does an athlete look like? They're going to come up with this. And I've got air quotes around ideal image.
Totally.
Right? Like, but there's, yeah.
So following kind of up on that and what the research said, if we asked them, what would you change about your body if you could to look more like the ideal athlete you described? Everything was about getting more toned and leaner. 1%, actually less than that, is 0.8%, said stronger and bigger, which is shocking to me, but also not at all, because I think our biggest representation of that right now is Alona Mar, who's just taken that by storm in the best way. But I can't tell you a lot of it.
Somehow.
I know. I can't tell you a lot of other athletes. You could say like, oh, but I think the excuse, even in my head, I've said, it's like, oh, but yeah, she's so cool and funny. Like she's well positioned to own that platform. But yet a majority of female athletes think that in order to be a better looking athlete, it is about getting leaner and toner and more muscular, but not big.
Yeah. And, that's something that I've been trying to kind of express just, I don't know, in my work with clients and all that, or just like advocacy work kind of with what I do as a sports dietitian, is recognizing that body dysmorphia and disordered eating, it doesn't stem necessarily from that idea of like, I want to be smaller and skinnier, though it definitely can. But in the sports world, we've just have new names. It's, I want to be more toned, more muscular, low, like lean body fat. Oh, it's not about, I don't care about my weight. I'm like, oh, good. But you're still caring about being like super, like seeing your abs or seeing your, and it's like, this is still body dysmorphia and leading you to make changes in your nutrition that are unhealthy because of some ideal image of being an athlete that is potentially unrealistic and unhealthy, potentially. I want to add the word potentially in there because I'm acknowledging that since we do come in all different body shapes and sizes, there are plenty of people that might have that look without having disordered eating, or, like that's possible. But we don't want to just like, there's so many people that are, oh, I don't care about the scale, but you're still overemphasizing a certain image.
Right. And I also want to emphasize, like, I have my own aesthetic goals. Like, I know my body well enough. I'm like, oh, I know what I love, what look I love for my body. That has changed because of what I know, how I know my body and my relationship with my body. Before, my goals were associated with like, I want to look like her. And that's, I don't think helpful. But if they are I do believe that like if you have a set of goals for yourself that are realistic for your body and
Yes.
improve your performance, improve your health, improve your recovery, and all these things that give you a happy life, that is
Yeah.
all, that is totally okay.
Thank you for acknowledging that. Definitely a huge point. Like yeah, it's all about you, what is best for your body and your mind,
Mm-hmm.
you living your life, and what
Mm-hmm.
is realistic for your body. So it doesn't mean that body goals or aesthetic goals should be completely disregarded, but
Mm-hmm.
that you really have to do some work to figure out if this is stemming from a good place. Is this
Yeah,
based on you, your body, your health, your happiness, or is this based on comparison and coming from a place of low self-esteem because you just want to fit into this size small, or you want to look like your friend, or you have a misconception that if only I were X body fat, then I would probably get the spot on the team.
totally.
Like, though, that's the stuff that we want to get rid of. But if you do know, hey, I felt great and healthy and strong and
Mm-hmm.
happy, or even if it's exploratory, like, hey, I've been in this body type for a while. I wonder what would happen if I actually did put on 5 pounds of muscle. Let's see if I could explore that.
Yeah.
Like, that's okay too.
Yep.
We can have body goals. They just have to be grounded in the right reasons that are for you individually and healthy.
Absolutely.
Um, and so I want to know now, like now that you've gathered this research,
Mm-hmm.
how is that shaping or changing
Mm-hmm.
how you move forward with Superhera?
Mm-hmm. So we started Superhera as the mission's always been give female athletes and athletes now the freedom to perform because we are working with men's teams. It
Oh,
started
good
with,
to know. Good to know.
yes,
Yeah.
it started with apparel to try to reshape apparel based off female athlete body types. But what I realized is what we've discussed this whole time is that everybody has a different body and your body
Yeah.
changes over time. And we want to be able to capture that and be able to make clothing based on how your body is right now. Not how it is in 10 years or how it was in high school or in middle school,
Mhm.
etc. We want to be able to make you feel your best right now. And so we actually evolved from just an apparel company to a sizing technology company. In
Ah.
the last 6 months, I traveled around the country capturing literal photos and measurements of as many female athletes as I could. And now, again, we're
Mhm.
adding men's. But we specifically got the most important measurements, which are 11 measurements around the body of what goes into apparel and what for athletes specifically, what's the most important thing. So they don't get a camel toe, their shorts don't rise, they can lift their arms for movement, especially for upper body sports. And I captured as much as I could, talk to as many female athletes to get their individual fit preferences and opinions on clothing, et cetera. So one of the schools is Air Force Academy that we went to.
Out
Yes.
in
A lot of military
Colorado?
academies. Yes. But
Mhm.
we went to, I went to about 20 universities to capture all this data. Lots of different club organizations we worked with too. So younger, about high school, middle school age. And we built our own body scan based off of all of those athletes' data.
Wow.
And the way artificial intelligence, machine learning works with that essentially is we grab someone's photos, we capture a 3D avatar from them, and then we train this AI model to say, this is the arm, to capture this arm length. By the way, you're going to see this for someone who is 5 feet tall, 7 feet tall, not 7 feet tall, 5'7", 6 feet tall, 6'6". You're going to see it for a range of body types. And the more body types, different body types we have, the more accurate we become in identifying
Right.
different measurements for people.
Yeah.
And I think it's helpful when I explain the technology like that because it's not a lot of body scan technologies will map you to someone that sort of looks like you. And I'm like, that's not good enough. We need to figure out what you individually are as
Yeah,
your
we need
own.
to map you individually.
Exactly. So we're not giving you a body twin. We're saying this is your body shape as you are right now and your measurements. But we don't give the athletes those measurements. We just help them find their best fitting size in, let's say, their Nike jersey for that year. We also fit and size the Nike jersey or whatever jersey they're wearing, because the fit changes, as we've talked about, so often. And that can be the most frustrating thing, especially when you've truly put in the hard work to feel like you have a great body and you're so proud of your performance and all of those things. And if that can be ruined by a jersey that doesn't fit because it was manufactured incorrectly.
Yeah.
So we do that work. We actually do size recommendation for all these colleges on what uniform size these athletes should order and based on their fit preference. So an athlete can choose exactly what they want. And the language from us is like, look, we're going to recommend the best fitting size based on how the gear fits your measurements and your fit preference.
Yeah. So so the company has changed.
Evolved,
Your service per se has evolved is a good word. Yes. So are you still, just so I'm aware and our listeners, are you still creating clothing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you do still create custom fit clothing, and you've evolved into, or I can show up to the team, like this university has this great contract with New Balance. They're ordering from here, but we're going to use our technology and we're going to make the best recommendations for each individual on your team.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So we do the custom fit too. It's based off body ratios. So we look at everything as body ratios in terms of like, you have narrow shoulders. I wouldn't say regular, proportional, middle shoulders, and then wider, and then wider shoulders. And then it's proportional to all the different areas of your body that matter when you think about clothing. So we just think of it as body proportions. Swimmers are naturally going to have
broader
shoulders, wider backs, because that's how you perform. And so let's make apparel that's built for that performance and to make you feel good so it fits. So you're not worried about that when you're competing. And I'm so excited about being in this space, because for me, it was always about fit and the product development and why things are made the way they are. And it actually is solving so much of my original mission of freedom to perform. It's like, this is how we do it.
I don't have any personal experience with the athletic world of sizing, like you're saying, but as somebody who never really loved shopping, never really loved fashion either, which might have stemmed from a place of insecurity of like, every time I go shopping, nothing fits. And I'm also always have been a small chested person. So like bras were always a huge struggle. Like I just like, they don't fit. I hate them. I don't understand what I'm supposed to buy.
I don't want to wear one.
I don't want to wear one. Like, why do I have a small chest? Why do I even need to wear one? And I remember like, I think it was even after having a baby and breastfeeding, things like that changed and everything, that I finally walked into a Victoria's Secret and had them size me because nothing was fitting. And I'm just sharing this because it was actually quite eye-opening. I was like, oh, if I get sized, then I can get something that fits. And now I'm more comfortable.
Yes.
Right? Like, and that was the only time in my life I ever really did that. Yeah. And I need to do it again, I think. But it's just that reminder, I think, full circle, right? Like we can't just be like walk into the shelves and try on a large or try on medium, try on a small and figure like, let's get sized. And again, remember, like we don't have to hold any value to what these numbers are, but let's get a custom fit. Let's learn about our body. And now, okay, based on getting size or using your amazing AI technology, creating our own individual like body shape, now these are the ones that you will feel most comfortable in, that will fit you best. Like ignore all the rest. Don't even try them on.
Exactly. And that's a great point. There's going to be items that's what we're coming across too, that the fit is just not going to feel good on anyone. We're going to recommend the best fitting size, and it is just not made for a soccer player's body, for example. So I think what you said about the items that fit you best, that is so clear. And I would encourage people when they think about the look that they want, really think about the fit that usually fits them best. Like for me, it's high-waisted jeans, really long flare at the bottom. That makes me feel my best. It's shorts that are a little bit longer that I could roll once because that's the style that I like, that flare out a little bit. I think it's thinking about what are the items that you have worn that fit incredibly or that make you feel the best, and then focus on finding those. I think sometimes we all sometimes get caught up in trends, but a lot of trends don't serve a lot of people's bodies. And that's what we're hoping to do with this technology, is saying, hey, let's just make the foundation of the fit correct. For example, like how you create a short, let's make it correct. So if the fit changes where basketball shorts get really long again, or sorry, the style changes and the basketball shorts get really long again, it'll still fit you fine. Like it'll still feel good, but there's the integrity and the foundation of the fit that we are really after. So no matter what you wear in sportswear, you are actually feeling great in your sport.
Yeah. Well, Marina, this conversation has really given our listeners, I think, a lot of good takeaway points about how we view clothing, the importance of like not changing your body for the clothing, but finding clothing that fits you. But I also want people to understand, like, how can they work with you directly?
Yes.
How could maybe a school or a team get Superhera's like come on campus? Like, I want to get sized, or maybe we are interested. Maybe we're a club team and we do want custom fit clothing. How can people work with you directly and Superhera directly?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can reach out on any of my social channels, which is just at Marina Paul, MarinaPaul. And then on our website is superhera.com. So it's like superhero, but with an A.com. There is book a demo, and we'll give you an entire demo of our platform, how we do everything. And then we do work with schools everywhere from middle schools all the way through pro teams on sizing and working with your current apparel provider or distributor, or also manufacturing custom gear. And everything is made in the US that we make.
And you're traveling, like, doesn't matter where this team is located.
Doesn't matter.
You will
Doesn't matter. Yeah. You don't want to know how many miles I booked last year, but
packing up your rewards points.
It is. It's just like being an athlete in season and you're never home. You're always on the road. No, that's what we do. So we have individuals on our team, all former athletes, or I mean, current athletes, but played collegiately or high level in high school. And they come out and work with your team, your girls, explain sizing, make it easy, make it fun, make the uniform process actually fun and not something that's like, oh, why doesn't this fit?
Yeah. And just, again, another evolution of the business. You are now working with men's teams as well. Of course, this is a female athlete podcast, but we want to share that. We want that to be known. I actually read a really interesting article. I'll keep this short, but about like so much about like, I think clothing there has been a focus on like female athletes, like what they're wearing, the issues in the sports, like what volleyball players wear, or like gymnasts, like can gymnasts wear leggings instead of leotards? And I read a great article about one of the U.S. men's Olympic gymnastics team members that is trying to say the men's gymnastics outfits like need to be updated. We need to make this, like, this is such a cool sport and our uniforms are not.
Yes.
and because it's unfortunately like a regulation of like, you must wear this to compete. And he's like, that's not okay. I don't want to wear these pants.
Yeah.
So yeah, we want to, that's why I think your work is important.
Thank
we focus
you.
on female athletes, but your work is important to expand that into male athletics as well. They have uniform and fit needs as well.
It is. So. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I love this.
Thank you, Marina. It's I'm so impressed by your evolution and love the mission. The mission is the core is still there. It has been there, and you're evolving and you're helping the industry in so many ways, feel good, look good, perform well, and hopefully fuel well as well, because it's all about respecting and appreciating your absolutely amazing body.
It is. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina. Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Please help spread the message of empowering female athletes to be fierce, fit, and fueled by giving this podcast a 5-star review and leaving a comment. You can also help more female athletes by sending this episode to a friend. Head to lindseycortes.com for more resources, information, more episodes, ways to work together, downloadable guides, and ebooks. And if you're interested in becoming a guest on the show or have a guest suggestion, head to lindseycortes.com/podcast, and there's a form for you to fill out to get on the show. Hey, there's more resources on my YouTube channel, Female Athlete Nutrition, Instagram at female.athlete.nutrition, and private Facebook group, Female Athlete Nutrition. I think you get the point. I'm here to support female athletes by fueling better and becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. Most importantly, if you need help, reach out. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next show.